Watertown City Council has another candidate, and we have Doug Osborne here to give us details of his candidacy, and it's a name that you might recognize from years past. He is back in the race for this year with 2 seats up for re-election. Lisa Ruggiero, Cliff Olney, both of them running for re-election. But Doug, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thanks for coming in. Give us a little bit of history about you or who you are so that people can reacquaint themselves with you. They might know a little bit, but let's bring them up to date.
Of course. So I'm a lifelong resident of Watertown, born and raised here. I was previously a child protective caseworker for about 7 years until I transferred over to the probation department as a probation officer for this last year. I have ran for city council. This will be my 3rd time. I've attended all the local schools here, to include IHC, JCC. I went off to Albany, pursued my degree in public policy and administration. Came back to Watertown after I graduated, worked for a variety of local business owners, and then I landed my job at CPS, and then I've been in civil service since.
3rd time could be the charm, I guess, right? This is your 3rd.
I'm hoping
why
so.
Get back into it?
Well, I've been increasingly concerned with I would consider frivolous spending, excessive spending on recreational things, when we really need to focus more on public works projects, public safety, and things of that nature. And
when you talk about your 3rd time doing it, what have you learned from the other 2, right? Because you want to learn from those experiences. What is it that you'll maybe do differently in this campaign? And what thing would you do the same because you knew it did give you some traction?
Yeah, so we'll attack the latter half first. So I think it would be just going out and talk to folks in our neighborhoods here. You learn a lot going door to door and speaking with folks and getting their concerns. A lot of them, I share the same concerns as they do. And you also learn other things, different ideas that maybe you haven't necessarily considered before. Things I would do differently. Well, I think I would be a little bit more aggressive in going door to door and talk to more folks. I think I talked to a lot of folks the last time around, but I want to at least double that or triple that for sure.
Petition-wise, you have to get so many signatures, 165, I think.
Yeah,
a
at the minimum.
Can sign up to 2 of the petitions. Where are you with that process?
I'm right around the minimum right now. Obviously, I want to exceed that. But so far, so good. Got a lot of good reception so far from the folks I have spoken with. So, yeah, we're doing well.
So you've pretty much got the signatures you need, but you want to have a cushion.
Exactly right.
Yeah, because they're always scrutinizing and making sure. Because if someone signs more than 2 petitions, depending on the sequence of those,
sure,
a signature could get tossed out. So for people that are signing those, 2 of them is what you can sign. Coming into council, you may have to be the bad guy. And here's where I'm coming from with that. The budget and the city finances are not that favorable. We've talked about in other interviews with council or with the mayor or candidates. We talk about the future budgets for the city of Watertown, and last year had that 19% proposed increase. It got whittled down, but essentially I think it's fairly safe to say you're going to be, if you're elected, you're sitting in that chair at a time when property taxes are probably going to be going up, and it could be a pretty good whack. I don't know that, but in terms of the numbers, you got to wonder if that's the case. So are you prepared for that, or what are your thoughts of the city's finances? You said that the city's wasting money in your words.
I mean, I'm incredibly concerned about some of the frivolous spending, like as I stated previously, but nobody wants to see any type of tax increases, particularly those that may go into the double digits. I don't want to see that. I don't think any property owner in the city wants to see that happen. So I think it's going to be incredibly important for us to go line by line, look at the budget, and see what we can make more efficient, right? Without compromising some of our core services that we provide, which is public safety and some of our public works projects. Those are vital, and I think that is what, at the end of the day, that the residents want to see a focus on.
With your background, CPS and probation, I would imagine that public safety is a big part of what you would campaign on. That's
Absolutely,
important and
absolutely, it's paramount.
not an area to cut, I would think, in your
No,
opinion.
no, not at all.
Fire service as well.
Yep, absolutely.
So when you talk about things that go line by line, probably the recreation stuff, you're talking about the recent purchase of the golf course, right? I mean, that was a couple of years ago, but still, headlines, and people are concerned over that. When you go door to door, are people still talking about the golf course?
People are still discussing it, and they're just outraged about how much we paid for it. But not only that, but the reoccurring operational costs that'll accrue over the years as well, having to operate it. So, yeah, that's a big deal. Absolutely.
Do you give it some time, the golf course, to come around? I mean, I've had the discussion before of where the first year it lost money, second year it's down to like losing $250.
Yeah.
Some of that one-time cost for a mower or for one-time purchases. So really the loss it could be even less. How many more years would it go before you would say, or would you say now, the city needs to get out of the golf course business?
Well, I don't want to speculate into the future like that, but I think we do need to kind of consider it now. I'd like to see how it goes down the road here. I mean, obviously we have to fix a few things, and I think there's a few options that we need to consider as well. One would be continuing taking the same course that we are currently, but trying to modify it where we're not losing as much money each year. The second one would potentially be leasing out the golf club, or leasing out the clubhouse and or the restaurant and the course itself, and seeing if we can kind of capture any money through leasing it. And I think the other third option, which I don't think will be incredibly popular, but one that has to be considered nonetheless, would be, since it is designated parkland now, that we just make it parkland and no longer a golf course at that point. Again, I don't think that's going to be the most popular option, but it's one that we have to consider for sure.
With so many people running for council, pretty crowded field,
Yep.
but you're not a stranger to that.
No.
You've had that before. How do you stand out?
I think mostly it is my background. I think, doing this a third time around, I think it demonstrates my determination to ensure that the city is on the right course. I think my degree in public policy and my internships and practical experience in local government here. I interned at the planning department while I was in college. I think all that stuff actually helps me kind of have an edge and familiarity with the workings of city government.
Do you find yourself aligning with anyone, and that's not derogatory, but aligning with anyone on council, or do you see yourself as a different voice altogether coming onto the body if you're elected?
Well, I find myself as someone that wants to work with all the council members, or if I were to be elected, or the next member that gets elected, with the current members, we need to create a cohesive group, right? I think we've seen a lot of dysfunction over the last several years that has kind of been a distraction to the real issues that people are actually concerned with, and it's been a disservice, I think, to all of us here. Talking
about the back and forth over the golf course over the years, talking about the recent ethics
violation. Yep.
What is it about that you don't like? I mean, is it should the city should just stop now and not spend money on it and pursue it?
No, I think we have invested time and dollars in it at this point that we need to see a conclusion and a resolution to it, and to see if there has been any wrongdoing. I think the people deserve that. I think we all deserve to know.
Let's talk about a couple of decisions that are things that have been just topics in city government.
Sure.
One is the zoo, right? And
Yep.
the zoo is asking for more money, so Zoo New York and Thompson Park. Where do you come down on that? You have people that say, no, it's not worth the investment, but others that say, yeah, this should be here in the city, and the city should support it further. How do you come down on that?
Well, the zoo has been a real important institution in the city for years and years and years. I think we've also given the zoo a lot of money over the last couple of years, especially last budget cycle. I mean, what they're asking now, which I think just this year alone between the county and the city is to the tune of maybe $650,000 or more, give or take. And then over the next 4 years, $750,000 between the city and the county. As we just previously discussed, we have a looming budget crisis, and I don't think that we're in a position, to keep handing out money when we need to again address our public works projects and public safety issues around the city.
Mm-hmm. On the flip side of that, I think the zoo, and I know the zoo has said in the past that shutting it down would cost a pretty penny as well, and it would be up to the city to have to spend that money. So, either way, it looks like it could be an expensive thing.
Yeah, and I think that council members or members of the community will have to kind of, reimagine what the purpose is for it if it's not going to be a zoo anymore. But it's something that we definitely have to kind of deliberate on and consider options for sure. Because I just don't think, handing out a lot of money at this point towards the zoo is feasible.
Another issue doesn't deal with money, it's just policy, but the flag policy has been discussed as of late. It was outright banned last year, brought back this year. Where do you stand on what the city is doing currently with the flag policy? Do you support the policy, or do you side with the mayor in thinking that it shouldn't exist?
Well, I was content with the previous policy I think was implemented before when we erected the third flagpole, where we have the city flag, the U.S. flag, and the state flag. I think each one of those represents us as a diverse community. And, I just think that this whole issue has become a political football, and I think it's really put a damper on things. And I don't, at this point, I'd just be content with the three flags that we have up there that represent all of us as a community.
What other issues are you hearing from people, or what other issues are important to you?
Yeah, so I alluded to multiple times that public safety is a big issue for me, particularly with the ongoing homelessness, crime, and drug use in the area. I think and mental health issues. I think all of those are kind of intertwined. And we have some of the best service providers out there that are trying to assist with this and attack this problem. Same thing with our law enforcement officials as well. So that's one of my biggest issues right now that I'd like to not see resolve. I mean, you want to see it resolved somehow, but I'd just like to get, some of these organizations and municipal governments and stuff like that together so we can kind of, address this issue and mitigate a lot of the problems that we're having regarding that. With
so many other candidates in the race, do you find yourself partnering up with anybody? Is there anyone that you say, hey, the two of us would be a winning ticket to go on to council? No, but I appreciate all the people that are running so far. I've talked to quite a few of the other candidates. They all offer something, unique, and their backgrounds are all pretty impressive. And I like a lot of them. And that's what I kind of found with my previous 2 times running, aside from this one, is that you end up establishing relationships with some of the people that you're running with, even though you're in a heated competition. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think they all offer something, and any one of these folks would bring something good to City Council. And when you thought about running, whether it was the other 2 times or in this one, who do you talk to? Do you have anyone that has been on council in the past, or any advice from the political world of someone that's on the inside of it, how this stuff is, or what to expect? Yeah, I mean, I've talked to everybody that I've had contact with in the past. Usually it's just residents that I know too, that I like to get their perspectives. I think sometimes when you have people that have been in there or have ran before, it's kind of a silo. And I really like to, venture outside of that and see what, everyday normal people are thinking for the most part. What's your involvement with City Hall so far, with meetings and such? I mean, you've been in the audience. Yeah, I was in the audience the last council meeting. I've been to council meetings for a long time. Since I was 19 years old, I've been interested in all this stuff. So I'm no stranger to going to City Hall and
and checking things out. And
Do you think
observing.
that's important to show that investment?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think there's some convenience now with with some of the meetings online, but when you're there in person, I think it adds a little bit more.
Very good. Anything else you want to add to the voters?
Just that we have a lot of different issues coming that need to be addressed, and I think at this point, between the dysfunction and the volatility of that we've seen on council, we need to steady the ship and really try to steer the focus back on these vital issues instead of these distractions.
All right. Best of luck. Doug,
Thank
thanks
you,
for coming
sir.
in.
Appreciate
Candidate
you.
for City Council, Doug Osborne. Thanks.